Spin Cycle America, the American Citizens Handbook, Season 1, Episode 3, the Electoral College. Welcome to Spin Cycle America. I'm Coach. This isn't about political parties. This is about principle. It's about history, responsibility, freedom, and having an honest conversation about the country we all call home. So let's get started. So every 4 years, Americans hear that same old question. Why don't we just simply elect the president by the national popular vote? I mean, why not? We do it in school for, presidents of our student body. It's a fair question, right? Many people know the term electoral college, but fewer know why it exists or why the founders included it in the Constitution. So today, we're going to go ahead and look at the history, the purpose, and the continuing role of the Electoral College in our constitutional system. So today's topic is, what is the Electoral College? What is it? What's its purpose? How was it created? So the Electoral College is a constitutional process used to elect the president and the vice president of the United States. Sounds pretty simple, right? But it actually is a little more complicated than that. Each state receives a number of electoral votes, I should say, equal to the total representatives in Congress. 2 senators plus its number of representatives in the House. The District of Columbia also participates under the 23rd Amendment. A candidate who receives a majority of electoral votes becomes president. So I'm going to break that down here in just a few minutes, and I'll kind of give you a rundown on how that works. So why did the founders create it? Well, when delegates met in the Constitutional Convention in 1787, they debated several methods of choosing a president. Some favored a direct popular vote, which is the question that's asked today. Why don't we just use the national vote, popular vote? Others wanted Congress to select the president. Some people want that now, today. But the compromise they came up with, or they reached, created the Electoral College. Several concerns influenced that decision, including preserving the role of the states within the federal system. So they wanted the states to get involved. They wanted the states to have equal say, creating a process that balanced the interest of both large and small states. Now, there is a little bit of a buffer here, or a little bit of arguments going on, and I'm going to explain that here in just a minute. Establishing an independent executive chosen through a constitutional process rather than by Congress. Okay, so they didn't want Congress just to sit there and say, you're the president, or vote that way. Historians note there were multiple reasons behind the compromise, and delegates did not all agree on every point. The Electoral College reflects those negotiations. So you can see that in how they came up with this negotiation, or the Electoral College. Okay, so here's how the system really works. Like I mentioned earlier, I was going to kind of explain it a little bit more in depth. So total electors, the Electoral College consists of 538 electors. Okay, so winning majority. A candidate must secure a simple majority of 270 Electoral College votes to win the presidency. State allocations. Each state receives electors equal to the number or total congressional delegations. 2 for each senator, plus 1 for each member in the House of Representatives. Washington, D.C. is also granted 3 electors via the 23rd Amendment. So the 23rd Amendment gave them a little bit of voting power as well. So awarding electoral votes. So some states are a little bit different and offer a few entourage or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so they offer a couple other different things. So here's something that's a little bit different. A winner take all in 48 states, Washington D.C. The candidate who wins the highest number of popular votes statewide receives all the state's electoral votes. District systems such as Maine and Nebraska allocate 2 electoral votes to the state's popular vote winner and 1 electoral vote to the winner of each individual congressional district. This system can result in a split electoral vote. Okay, so it gets kind of complicated on some of this. So you just kind of read into it and learn a little bit about it. But this makes you kind of gives you that power once you learn a little bit more about it. So popular vote versus electoral votes. Because electoral votes are distributed based on state representation rather than the exact national vote, a candidate can win the national popular vote but lose the presidency if they fail to reach 270 electoral votes. This diversity has occurred 5 times in the U.S. history, most recently in the election of 2000 and 2016. Okay, so when this happened in 2016, everybody's went crazy because of who won it in 2016, right? But in the past, when certain people are winning it, depending on which side's getting it, they're all excited and happy about it. Okay, so it's a give and take because both sides have won it that way. So if no candidate receives the required 270 vote majority, a contingent election occurs. In this scenario, the House of Representatives elects the president, with each state delegation casting a single vote, and the Senate elects the vice president. So that means whoever the United States or the president had, the Senate could completely elect somebody completely different. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? So here's today's arguments. The Electoral College remains one of the most debated parts of the Constitution. Supporters often argue this, that it encourages candidates to build support across different regions, preserves the role of the state in presidential elections, reflects the federal structure established by the Constitution. Okay, sounds pretty good. But here's what the critics are arguing about it. Okay, which if you look at it, it makes sense. Can produce a winner who did not receive the most nationwide popular votes. Think about it. Maybe you didn't vote for him. Maybe your whole state didn't vote for that person. Okay, causes campaigns to focus heavily on competitive states. We see that all the time. There are only certain states that if they win a particular state or a certain group of states, they could possibly become president. Gives unequal practical influence to voters depending on where they live. Another problem. Okay, so there's problems on both sides of the aisle, but it's something that really can't be fixed unless you just say popular vote. But is that going to work too? We don't know. Understanding both viewpoints helps us have more informed conversations. So here's a little bit about Constitution Corner. The Electoral College is established in Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution and later modified by the 12th Amendment, which refined the process for electing the president and vice president. So if you look in the Constitution, the Electoral College was modified or amended several different times. They've gone through and tried to amend it and change it and add to it and different things like that, because that's the only way you can change it. Okay, so here's a little bit on the history. The Electoral College has been used since the nation's established presidential elections. So it's from its first birth, I guess you could say, through the process has been over time through the constitutional amendments and state laws. So it's been through the process. It's been used. The 12th Amendment, ratified in 1804, changed how electorals cast their votes after problems emerged in the 1800s. So that's where the 12th Amendment came from. It tried to ratify it a little bit more to make more sense. Okay, so here's my verse of the day. All right, and listen to this one here. This one makes a lot of sense. Okay, so the verse of today is, let all things be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians paragraph 14, verse 40. Now think about that for a minute, okay? This is where we're having a problem with both sides kind of fighting against each other and not really doing anything decently. You know, we're talking about common sense, and this is kind of what we need to do. So good systems rely on order, accountability, and clearly defined rules. And that's what the Constitution does for us. It kind of sets those rules out there for us, so that we have something to go after or something to kind of guide us. So here's my question for everybody out there. Question of the day. If you could change one thing about the presidential election process, what would it be and why? Let's keep these questions or this discussion respectful and focused on this idea, on what's going on. And put those in the comments below, please. I appreciate that. So here's some homework for you, coach's homework. Read Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution and the 12th Amendment. And ask yourself this question. Why did the founders create this process, and why has it been amended over time? Remember, I mentioned earlier that it has been amended a few times. Understanding history helps us better understand today's debate. So here's my final whistle, called Coach's Whistle. As a coach, I've learned that every team needs rules. Everyone needs to understand before the game begins. So you need to understand what's going on. Okay? And that's basically what the Constitution is. It's a set of rules. It helps understand what's going on. Whether you like every rule isn't the point, however. We don't like every rule. You're driving along on the car and you get pulled over by the cops, and they say you failed this rule or you didn't go by this rule. Well, you may not appreciate that rule or don't like it, but it's part of the rules. First, we have to understand why that rule exists. The Electoral College has been debated for more than 2 centuries. People have different opinions about whether it should stay the same or be changed. So if it's going to be changed, why? What are we going to change it to? What's going to be more effective? Well, our founding fathers tried to change it, or they were locked in a room for days trying to figure out what they're going to do with it before they actually wrote what it is today. And then it's been amended over time. Before we decide what should happen in the future, we owe it to ourselves to understand the history behind it, where it came from. An informed citizen, such as yourself and myself, is one who studies before reaching a conclusion. All right, so we need to know what's going on. So I'm Coach. Thank you for joining me again here today on Spin Cycle America. Remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about being responsible. It's about understanding where we came from, appreciating the freedoms we have, and doing our part to leave this country better for the next generation. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and take care of each other. God bless you, your family, and God bless the United States of America. And I will catch you all on the next episode of Spin Cycle America. And you all have an outstanding day.